like yells from there?
הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, אללי לי 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 לי, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Do they have this at home? Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Coming to you live from the Bima here at Ahavat Chesed. Shabbat Shalom. It's nice to see, well, I can't see anybody. Actually, I see myself and the Cantor's reflection in the plexiglass thing, so hopefully you're there. It's like, it's different. Anyway, Shabbat Shalom. I hope all of you are well. And it's nice to be in the building, back in the building with the Cantor, especially on her very, very special weekend. So if you have the Ahavat Chesed Spring 2021 prayer Shabbat, Erev Shabbat program, we're going to go right to page 1. And this meditation from Rabbi Nachman, who said that a human being reaches in 3 directions: inward to self, outward to people, and upward to God. The real secret, taught Nachman, is that the 3 are one. And when we are connected to ourselves, we can reach out to others. When we reach out to others, we may come to know God. This is a very important meditation for this week. As Blake will explain and teach tomorrow morning, this really has a direct reflection to the Torah portion, which we'll go into a little bit more in depth tomorrow morning at Torah study at 9. But the theme of this meditation by Nachman also speaks to, as Torah usually does and as text usually does, to what's happening in the world in which we live. So when we talk about Leviticus 19 tomorrow, this idea of an attempt to create a society of holiness, it speaks to some of the things we've seen this week, the material issues in Minneapolis, the passing of a law in Washington about Asian hate, anti-hate crimes. It goes also to something we've talked about all year, the importance of relationships and the power of relationships, which is really what Nachman is talking about working with people and then taking those relationships and translating them out into the world. So it's also the theme of the opening melody that the Cantor sang, Hine Ma Tov, how good it is for all of us to dwell together in unity and in peace. So again, these themes all come together, especially on Shabbat. And so that's why this Nachman meditation is so important. And that's why some of the material for this Torah portion and this week is so important Torah-wise, because we do talk about one of the great Torah portions. It's a double portion, but specifically Leviticus 19. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that during the service and much more about it tomorrow morning, and especially much more during Blake's Devar Torah. And so I'm going to ask you to join the Cantor, continuing on page 1 of your program service booklets in the Lechu Neranana, in the middle of page 1.
Lechu Neranana, lay, L'Adonai, lay, Nahariah, lay, Letzur Hishenu, lay. Let us sing unto God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. Lechu Neranana, lay, L'Adonai, lay, Nahariah, lay, Letzur Hishenu, lay, for all of the wonders and all of God's might we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. Lechu Neranana, lay, L'Adonai, lay, Nahariah, lay, Letzur Hishenu, lay.
And on the top of page 2, we turn to the ritual for the lighting of the Sabbath candles, and it is the tradition in most congregation the night before a child is bar or bat mitzvah, we call on the mother of the bar mitzvah boy. Oh, wow, it just happens to be here to lead us in this blessing, the top of page 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat, blessed are you who commands us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
In the middle of 2. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and in hope. I ask you to join us. For Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living. For Shabbat memories, glowing events in darkness. For Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love, we offer thanks and blessing, O God. We turn to page 3 and join with the Cantor in the Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'diborecha, yishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'litchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mikor habracha, merosh mikethem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech kumi ori, uri, uri, shita beri, kivod Adonai, alaych nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Bohi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Bohi chala, bohi chala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela.
And as we welcome the Shabbat bride, we turn to this second section, the more public part of our service. I invite you to turn to page 4 and join with the Cantor at the bottom of the page in the Chatzi Kaddish, and then we'll roll right into the Baruch Hu. Chatzi Kaddish, page 4.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash mei Rabbi,
Amen.
v'yamad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayedecho beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, u'v'zman kariv, v'yimeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbi mevorach, le'alam u'lalmei hamaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitador, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal shmei dekutsha b'rechu, leila min kol bechata, v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran miyama, v'yimeru, amen. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bevaro ma'ariv aravim. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sails of the stars, creator of tide and time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Baruch atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. The evening makes evening come. The top of page 6. It's a very, very interesting prayer, again, for today and for this week. Hear, O Israel, the divine abounds everywhere and dwells in everything. The many are one. Loving life and its mysterious source with all our heart and all of our spirit, our senses and strength, we take upon ourselves and into ourselves these promises: to take care for the earth and those who live upon it, to pursue justice and peace, to love loving kindness and compassion. We will teach this to our children throughout the passage of the days as we dwell in our homes and as we go on our journeys from the time we rise till the time we fall asleep. And may our actions be faithful to our words, that our children's children may live to know truth and kindness, have embraced peace and justice, have kissed, and are one. Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. The reason why this particular reading is so powerful, as you know, this week was Earth Day. And here you have another prayer which talks about the earth. It is a primary commandment drawn from our tradition that you have and I have, we all have a primary responsibility to take care of the earth. It is given to us, according to the Talmudic passages, as a lease. And we are responsible to return this earth, at least into a condition that we found it, if not better. There's a whole series of, and there's several now organizations like Dayenu, whose only job it is to look at the Jewish text and how it impacts the environment. And the linkage here is with the Rab Nachman prayer at the beginning of the service. The link here also is to teaching children. And so a lot of times we talk about what we do as a human being. There's this wonderful show, do you remember South Pacific? And there's this wonderful song in South Pacific, which we still haven't figured out, about hate, and that children have to be taught how to hate. That's why this meditation, specific before the Shema, is so powerful. What we do, everything we do as a human being, is a sense, a lesson. There's a Hebrew word we talked about during the year, I don't remember exactly when, called dugma. Dugma means an example. So that everything we do, whether it's in the privacy of our own homes or out in the world, sets an example. And our children and our grandchildren watch us. That's how they learn how to think. That's how they learn how to believe in many ways. We are constantly teaching everything we do, which is why the words that we speak are so important. because our children and our grandchildren, they listen and they model and they repeat. So take a look at this prayer, because it really encapsulates the theme of Shabbat, in many ways the theme of the Torah portion that we study this week. And it's a tremendous introduction in the middle of 6 to the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
You may be seated. Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'otecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
When justice burns within us like a flaming fire, when love evokes willing sacrifice from us, when to the last full measure of selfless devotion, we demonstrate our belief in the ultimate triumph of truth and righteousness, then goodness enters our lives and we can begin to change the world. In that spirit, the song of liberation, the song of freedom that our ancestors sang as they crossed the Sea of Reeds, on the top of page 8, the Mi Chamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אליו. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות Oh, say, fella, who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai, who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? מלכותך ראו בניך בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים זה אלינו אנו ויאמרו מלכותך ראו בניך חוקי הים לפני משה ומרים זה עניינו אנו ואמרו אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד who is like you Adonai who is like you who is like you who is like you Adonai
Who is like you?
who is like you who is like you who is like you Adonai who is like you who is like you who is like you Adonai
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai. Haporeis sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 9. Vishamru? Vishamru.
Vishamru, Vishamru, Linei Yisrael, et Hashabbat, Lasod, et Hashabbat, Ledorotam Meritolam, Beini Ulin Linei Yisrael, Odi Leolam, Beini Ulin Linei Yisrael, Odi Leolam, Vishamru, Vishamru Linei Yisrael, et Hashabbat, Lasod, et Hashabbat, Ledorotam Meritolam, Ki she'isher yamin Hasadonai, et hashamayim, v'et ha'aretz, Vishamru, Vishamru Linei Yisrael, et Hashabbat, Lasod, et Hashabbat, Ledorotam Meritolam, Ulayom Hashvi, Shabbat v'yinafash, Ulayom Hashvi, Shabbat v'yinafash, Vishamru, Vishamru Linei Yisrael, et Hashabbat, Lasod, et Hashabbat, Ledorotam Meritolam.
On the top of page 10, there's this paragraph that will lead us into the tefillah, the central prayer of every service. This paragraph talks about the Shabbat, and the meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. There's a fairly long series of sermons in that line, which you're not going to get. But I do want to reflect on it for one, because this is the sun is setting and Shabbat is beginning. And we're about to pray the Amidah, which talks about ancestors. It talks about hope. It talks about holiness in the Kedusha. It talks about gratitude. It talks about many, many things, and ends, of course, in peace. But it really is also about time. The great theologian of the 20th century, and we've mentioned this in Torah study in some of the classes during the year, dating back from when we started back in July, Abraham Heschel talks a lot about time, and that Judaism is a civilization that's based in time. It's not based in space. Now the calendar, our Jewish calendar, signifies and sanctifies time. The Torah portion, Kedoshim, which is this Shabbat, talks about holiness. And our civilization takes pride in taking moments of time and elevating them into something special. In the work that I do in my program of Jewish Sacred Aging, time has become, I think, to be honest with you, time has become an obsession in many ways, both positive and negative. Because as the older we get, the more we are aware, as we've talked about in classes many times, we are more aware of the passage of time. And with that passage of time, the things that we know that we cannot control, because time is the one thing, no matter what we do, that none of us, no matter how hard we pray, time is one of those things, it's the only thing that we really cannot control. And time, and Shabbat is a perfect example of this, is like that. Sometime this weekend, maybe even tomorrow, as they're standing here with the Torah, Ian and the Cantor are probably somewhere in their mind are going to say, and looking at their son on the bima reading Torah, and somewhere say, where did the time go? Because I remember when. And many of us have had that experience. Time is very precious. It's perhaps, as we get older, the most precious thing we have. And so one of the themes of this service, and one of the themes of every service, and one of the themes really of the Torah portion, and one of the themes of being Jewish, is the absolute understanding that we cannot take that time for granted. One of the prayers that we'll do the Anachnu Modim in the Amidah, both tonight and tomorrow, is a prayer of gratitude. And some of you watching on the live stream or whatever social media, whatever platform that you happen to be platforming on right now, we all know that we are grateful in many ways for the time that we have and the celebration of time. And this pandemic, as we've talked about many times, has brought home the fact that that time is very special because we've missed some times. We've missed times that were precious. We've missed times that we were used to. We've missed times that no matter what, we can never get back. So this idea of time and who we are as a Jew, that's why we're a civilization of history, because you must embrace history as a Jew, because history tells us of the times that we lived. And so this paragraph at the beginning of 10, this introductory paragraph, very powerful. The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat, we try to become attuned to holiness in time. That's a Heschelian phrase. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. It really is about the creation of our own soul. So here's what I'm asking you to do this Shabbat. Step back. Other than services, get off the grid. take some time. Take some time to think. Take some time, yes, to pray, no matter what that prayer is. Take some time to assess who we all are. Take some time to think about God's first question, asked in Genesis 3, Ayeka, where are you? And what do you seek? And who do you wish to be? And what kind of life do we want to model to those we love? Time. We rise in body or spirit on page 10 for the tefillah.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu v'yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Havot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atarav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melech, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'neman atal hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. And at the top of page 12, these are some of the intermediary prayers from the Amidah, sometimes called the Shemona Esrei, because in many cases there are 18 benedictions that are said, condensed on Shabbat. And so on the top of page 12, the holiness of this day, but listen to the words, because it really speaks to where many people come to a service with, which is a bad English sentence, but many people come and be sitting now at home or watching this, and they bring, who knows what they bring to that service. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day, and may all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day, and may all who despair in some way find purpose. May all who hunger to find fulfillment on this day find it. And may this day fulfill its promise. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'amcha Yisrael. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and in our prayer, wherever we live. Wherever we seek you in this land, in Zion restored in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai she'otcha levadacha b'yirah na'avod. For you are with us in our prayer, in our love, and in our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and to do your will. You are the still, clear voice that resides within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds our mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find strength and find new strength in your service. Baruch atah Adonai she'otcha levadacha b'yirah na'avod. By the way, look at that prayer. Just don't glance over it. It says, in those moments of doubt and trouble, when we despair or are anxious, the tradition says, you look inside yourself. It says, don't look outside. Don't look to some being. You look inside yourself. Because the answer rests in your soul. That's a very, very powerful theological statement that we don't teach you enough. But that's where the answer is. And so we turn to say thank you. On the top of page 13, these prayers of gratitude. Modim anachnu lach. She'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'im le'olam va'ad sur chayenu. Mogen yishenu ata hu ledor v'ador. From generation to generation. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, which is so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us, and for all these and more. Modim anachnu lach, we give thanks. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha u'lecha ne'eh lahodot. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. And may it be your will, our God, that we be allowed to stand in places of astonishing light and not in dark places. And may our hearts know no pain. And may our vision not be so clouded that we would not see all the blessings of life that you have given us. Again, the answer rests within us as we search for peace, and we conclude with a Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. Yetzaun Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Yetzaun Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה משלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam.
take a few moments for private prayer.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. ועל כל ישראל יאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן.
And on page 16, the Mishaberach section of the service. Every week, you know, in congregations around the world, we pause at this moment in the service before we move into the concluding sections to render this prayer, Mishaberach, he who blessed our ancestors, may the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who may lie now on the bed of illness, dealing with either physical or mental illness. And it's what I like to do and remind everybody that we not only pray for these individuals, but we also offer prayers of thanksgiving for their caregivers, the people who give of their time and their energy to take care of people, from nurses and family members and children and spouses and grandchildren, grandparents and first responders, all of the people who combine to perform this mitzvah of taking care of another human being. We ask healing of body, healing of spirit. And we would be remiss, sadly, if we still do not include prayers for healing for all those in this country who continue to be harmed by this plague of gun violence. All of these combine in this prayer of healing, this Mishaberach. And so we bring now present into this congregational family individuals from this congregation on this Shabbat: Barbara Adams, Mike Arnold, Carol Babcock, Donna Berlin, Rosalie Teddy Bono, Cantor Joey Bressler, Dr. David Cassius, Sally Constain, Tom Davis, Devorah Bat Rachel, Helene Edwards, Lisa Eisenberg, Smitha Estonville, Art Fields, Jay Fisk, Amanda Jeremita, David Gordon, Jim Grant, Mary Sue Grinnan, Mary Hartman, Robert Kay, Barry Critchett, Marilyn Levitt, Teresa Levy, Helene Maltese, Barbara McDonald, Karen Mitchum, Moshe David, Ben Yetta, David Orber, Naomi Nagel, Kayla Neckel, David Osowski, Laura Osowski, Buddy Pollock, Jean Posen, Joyce Racklin, Randall Rout, Sandra Resnikoff, Alex Rosen, Stephanie Sibilia, Ruthie Silver, Nicholas Sobek, Bernice Tobias, David Van Alstine, Ruth Van Alstine, Judy Van Gorder, Ann Ligow Wagner, Alexa Welch, Dr. Dan Gottlieb, Ellen Jakowski. For those we have named in public, and for those you now name perhaps in public in your home or in the privacy of your own hearts and souls, we hold all of them in this prayer for healing of body, healing of soul, healing of spirit, the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach avotenu Mekor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu Mekor habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
I'd ask you to please turn to page 17. Page 17, in the middle of the page, we ask you to rise in either body or spirit and join with the Cantor in the Aleinu.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
I'd ask you to please remain standing if you are standing on the top of page 18. It's a very lovely meditation. Remembering is a gift. We treasure our wonderful memories. Our sad memories are softened by the passing seasons. We will always remember those who were part of us and share those memories with those who now share our lives. We honor and remember the ones we have loved who are no longer with us physically but are yet here with us in spirit. We love them, we think of them, we remember them. There are tears in our remembering, but there are smiles as well. So we never really have to say goodbye to those we love, because they live in our hearts and our minds forever. We give thanks. Remembering is a gift. We give thanks. Their lives were a blessing. We give thanks for what we had. We give thanks for what we have. With this Kaddish prayer, we say thank you, God, for the gifts of life and of love. And our thoughts now turn to those who have departed from the earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to all of humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and of loss, of life as well as death, as we recall these individuals in this particular congregation. In Ahavat Chesed, for whom we are observing Shiva, Gary Nadler, and Sally Abelson. For those for whom we are observing Shaloshim, Blanche Chak, William A. Shedlin, Mira Dubrakovina. And we recall with love the names, the anniversary of whose passing is observed in this congregation on this Shabbat. Arthur Abramson, Ida Lat Azraf, Robert Bedenbaugh Jr., Joan Benjamin, Benedict Carlin, Gertrude Freundlich Carlin, Jacob Cohn, Herbert Datz, Jack Dorman, Fanny Feinberg, Josephine N. Fink, Theodore Friedman, Minnie Fuchs, Stephen L. Geist, Rachel Gerbert, Joseph R. Glasser, Rebecca Goodman, Isadora Katz, Leo Capel, Stephen Paul Krantz, Fanny Landworth, Max Landworth, J. Sigmund Levy, Bernard John Levy, Naomi Mendelson, Sidney Merritt, Blanche Mermelstein, Sidney Merritt, Eugene Mesnick, Goldie Mesnick, Louise Meyer, Roger Mock, Barbara Paliv, Sidney Pargman, Sandra Rout, Ann Rubin, Scott Saraga, Rex Schatt, George Schwamm, Barbara Ellen Schoenthal, Blanche Simon, Marvin Slavkin, Dr. Richard Spira, Belle I. Sumakin, Dolores Wolf, Al Zisser, Harold Scott Fields. For all those we have named in public and for all those we continue to hold in our hearts, I ask you to please turn to page 19, and join together as a community as we pray. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mavrach le'olam olamei olamaya, yitbarak v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalo shemei dekudashah brichu. Le'elo min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiram b'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shalomo Rabbo min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. With the one who makes peace on high, bring peace and comfort to all who may be bereaved, to all who are in mourning, and let us say together as a community, Amen. You may be seated. Lanny Derby, representing the board, will bring some announcements. Pay close attention. Whoops.
Shabbat Shalom. Mazel tov to Blake Berry as he becomes a bar mitzvah tomorrow. Saturday, April 24th, we will have Torah study with Rabbi Address at 9 a.m. Shabbat morning worship will continue with Rabbi Address, Cantor Berry, and Blake Berry at 10:30 a.m. On Monday, April 26th, Intro to Judaism with Rabbi Address, Rabbi Goodman, and Rabbi Radskin at 7 p.m., and the Temple Book Group facilitated by Jill Metlin also at 7 p.m. Tuesday, April 27th, Wisdom with Mary Ellen Hathaway at 10:30 in the morning. Wednesday, April 28th, The Religions of Abraham, Comparing Our Faith, Contemporary Challenges and Historical Linkages with Rabbi Kotak at 7 p.m. Don't forget to place your order with Ben's Deli before April 30th. Temple is seeking guest presenters to lead wisdom discussions. If you have Jewish wisdom or stories to share in an open discussion forum, we'd love to hear from you. Wisdom classes are held on Tuesdays from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Email Mary Ellen Hathaway if you are interested in facilitating a wisdom discussion. If you would like to help usher Shabbat services and help with technology, please contact the temple. Temple events can be found online in our Week at a Glance, the Temple Times, Temple website, and the Messenger. Catch our social media postings on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Check our YouTube channel at thetemplejacks.org for recorded services and programs. And a big thank you to Rabbi Address and Cantor Berry for wonderful Shabbat services. Shabbat Shalom.
So as Lanny said, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, it's a double portion this Shabbat. Acharei Mot and Kedoshim, two very, very different portions. I think I put in the Temple Times a couple of things to think about. And I'm going to, this is a tease. I'm going to ask you, people at Torah study tomorrow, a very, very important question that comes right out of this Torah portion. That is one of the great controversial things that is happening in the Jewish community as we speak. It's actually been the source of a tremendous amount of controversy amongst clergy in the last month. And one of the things that comes out of the Torah portion is this question, and we're going to spend some time. There's so much, we'll never cover everything in an hour, but the nice thing about it is you come back next year, the same Torah portion, you'll get to do it all over again. But tomorrow, there's going to be a specific, very, very difficult ethical question that I'm going to ask your opinion on. So come prepared to, as you usually do. That's 9 a.m., whether you're here or on the Zoom machine or whatever machine, wherever you take your local Torah study. Social media rules. So let's see. Bottom of page 19, the Kiddush and Motzi. We're going to close with a Don Olam, right? Mm-hmm. But first, we're going to invite the mother of the bar mitzvah boy to lead us, as is customary in many congregations, in the Kiddush. And I think let me just hold on for 1 second. Yes.
There is a challah.
There is the sacred challah doth arrive.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinachilanu Zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit Ki hu yom techila lemikrei kodesh Zecher letziat mitzrayim Ki vanu acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
L'chaim. That's the good stuff?
It's all a matter of perspective, Rabbi.
No, it isn't. You ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Do you want to take a piece, even though
You try it first and let me know.
it sounds like a bad Disney movie? Here, have the apple.
Actually, I can't eat because I have to do the closing song. I will have a little challah afterwards.
Oh, so we're going to close with which melody are we doing?
So this is the French Sephardic melody.
Oh, mais oui, mademoiselle, s'il vous plaît.
We are very fancy this evening.
Oh,
Yes.
Bavakasha Lashir. So now we've done French and Hebrew. We are so smart. Are you doing this in Hebrew or French?
This one I'm doing this in Hebrew, but honestly, I have to tell a story now, a very quick one. I asked my father, who speaks many, many, many languages, how he keeps them all straight in his head. And he said, I just do. This was years ago, this conversation. And so later on in the day, I asked him a question in Hebrew, and he said, oui. Ah, and I got him. So everybody does it. Adon olam asher malach v'terem kol yetzir nivra ve'ed nasar v'chafso kol azay melech shemo nikra azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado imloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu hove ve'hu yeh betifara ve'hu yeh betifara ve'hu echad ve'en sheni ve'ham shilo le'afira ve'li rishir ve'li tachli ve'lo ha'os ve'ha'misra ve'lo ha'os ve'ha'misra ve'hu eini ve'chai go'ali ve'tzoch emri ve'yetzara ve'hu nisi u'manosli ve'nad kosi ve'yom ekra midnight kosi ve'yom ekra ve'yado akid ruchi ve'etishan ve'ayira ve'im ruchi kiviati Adonai li ve'lo ira Adonai li ve'lo ira.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
And Mazel Tov, Cantor. Okay. Oh, gosh. All right.
Now we have a 90-second delay, so Jean's going to stay on the